So I used to attend the church where the pastor used to say, let's put the naked monkey on the table. So that's what I intend to do tonight. Let's put the naked monkey on the table. This whole effort at this tape for the January 25th tape is to come at Tracy O'Neal Ellis. I'm curious. It's really interesting to me that the Edgar County folks seem to know what's already on a tape. That was closed session information. But it's all, I don't think anybody is surprised that this group of folks want to come at me. So that's cool, get at me. That's how I feel about it, come and get at me. It's a red herring, it's a distraction, it is disingenuous to say that I have something to hide because I have voted not to listen to this tape. That would prevent, that argument, specious argument, would prevent anyone from ever taking a principled stand against something. I have taken a principled stand. That meeting was a board self-evaluation from a board that no longer exists. And then the rest of the meeting was a superintendent evaluation for a superintendent who's no longer here. So the only interest in knowing what did that previous board say about itself, not about how we govern the district, what did we say about each other, about the board dynamics, about the interpersonal relationships on that board. The only interest in that could be, as I think one of the Edgar County folks said, to try to embarrass someone. But I've long lived by the premise that I would have to, in order for you to embarrass me, I would have to respect your opinion first. That's not the case here. So there's not going to be any public shaming of Tracy O'Neal Ellis. There's not going to be any embarrassment from Tracy O'Neal Ellis. I'm going to honor what was the closed session nature and confidential nature of that meeting. And since there are only 3 of us that were there and only 2 of us are here tonight, I'm going to honor the confidential nature of that. And I'm not going to say what was said there. That will come out in due time. But let me just say this. Either that board self-evaluation is the one time a year that a board is allowed to air its dirty laundry, to discuss interpersonal relationships, to discuss board dynamics, to discuss dysfunction, to discuss how well or how poorly we're performing. All of those things are fair game during a board self-evaluation. And if that is now up for debate as to whether that's legitimate or not, it will have a chilling effect on people's participation in there. If we are only going to come there and have to be constrained, I guess, in what we can say to each other, about each other, and about how we work together or don't work together, what is the point of a board self-evaluation? So I welcome the scrutiny. By all means, Mrs. Ward and anybody else, file an Attorney General complaint, get at me. And let's let the state of Illinois and the Attorney General's office determine whether whatever Tracy O'Neal Ellis said in that meeting was within the bounds of what's fair in a in a private discussion amongst board colleagues in a board self-evaluation with a member of the Illinois School Board Association present as a facilitator to ensure that we stay within the bounds of what the law allows. Get at me.
Any other comments, questions?
Yes.
Jeanette?
So I've consistently requested access to closed session recordings since I was elected last year, at a committee meeting, via emails, verbal requests, and in regular board meetings. My request led to the amending of Board Policy 2.201, requiring a board member to justify their reason for listening, and a vote by a simple majority of board members to grant access, along with the board assigning someone to look on as a member listens. I have previously stated that access to closed session recordings ought to be the right of all duly elected board members, that otherwise what we have is a situation in which the majority can prevent the minority from seeing or hearing things it wants to remain hidden. So recently, 112 legislators in the Illinois House, 55 legislators in the Illinois Senate, on a bipartisan basis, agreed with me unanimously. Consider how rare it is for something in Springfield to be done unanimously. House Bill 4630 amends the Open Meetings Act and requires that any and all available minutes and verbatim recordings of meetings closed to the public prior to a newly elected official's term in a public body shall be available to that official for review, regardless of whether those minutes or verbatim recordings are confidential. When the governor signs this bipartisan bill, which he will, and regardless it has a veto-proof majority, it will become the law of the land in Illinois. I am grateful that board members across the state will soon have access to information that they should have had all along. This is a victory for transparency, and that is the only principle that should win the day, transparency. So let's listen to the tape and find out.
Okay. Sue, sorry.
I just want to make a couple of comments. I don't particularly want to listen to the tapes, but I will listen to them because I feel it's my responsibility as a board member. This issue doesn't seem to be going away. I think it's very unfortunate that I too am in favor of transparency, but I have huge concerns about how this has torn apart this board. I'm not sure we can have another board self-evaluation in the future. I also feel that if it does continue and if there are accusations made, we need to ask the Attorney General's office for an advisory opinion on whatever violations people think may have occurred. And unfortunately, that may mean we incur additional legal fees. So.
I have a follow-up comment, Donna. I would just reiterate that the public access counselor at the Attorney General's office for the state of Illinois comes to work every day. I not only am okay with an Attorney General investigation, I welcome it, and I agree with Sue. We ought to go ask them, because otherwise we don't even need to have any more board self-evaluations. We don't need to have any. If board members and you know, hurt feelings, if you're going to take your little hurt feelings out of the board meeting and go run to whoever, because apparently you run to somebody who seems to already know what was said and who said what and all of that, by all means, ask the Attorney General's office to come in and investigate and listen to the tapes and decide, because we're either going to have board self-evaluations or Tracy O'Neill Ellis can opt out, because I'm not here to make any friends. I'm not here to make sure nobody's feelings are hurt. None of that. So again, public access counselor is on duty. Get at me.
Okay, Cody.
I just want to make a quick comment that since the beginning of these discussions on the policy, since the beginning of the discussions on whether or not board members should have access to these closed session recordings, I've been in favor of it. I still believe wholeheartedly that it is the constitutional duty to be transparent and open. So I welcome this. And quite frankly, I think future boards are going to have, I think they're going to welcome being able to review as well and follow their constitutional duties. As for House Bill 4630, it was a great day when it passed both the legislatures. I think that it welcomes good government and transparency to all elected officials in Illinois. And for that, I thank the General Assembly.
I'm sorry. Sue, I just want to add one thing, and I think it's important. I think board evaluations are exceptionally important, and we need to have them. But I think we also need to govern ourselves by saying it's not about personalities. It's about the issues and what is the best for U46. Anything outside of that really has no part in board evaluation, because we're not here about any one of the 7 of us. So I understand that there is things said, and I agree with Sue. I don't want to listen to it. But people should have, and I voted that way, and I still would vote that way. We should have access to those tapes. But we need to focus on what's the best for U46, and more importantly, what's best for the taxpayer.
Donna, I have a comment.
Okay.
I disagree that board self-evaluations should not discuss interpersonal relationships. The 7 of us, fortunately or unfortunately, have to come together pretty frequently during an academic year, well, all year round, really, except for July. And board dynamics and interpersonal relationships absolutely play a role. And now, having sat on 2 different boards, I am clear that interpersonal relationships and board dynamics play a role in our ability to govern with some sense of decency and decorum. And when there is a dysfunctional board and interpersonal relationships are disastrous, that does impede this board's ability to govern effectively. The entire board self-evaluation is evaluating how we operate as a board. And it asks questions about interpersonal relationship. It asks questions about the dynamics. It asks those questions. So if we're not going to talk about those things and we have to worry about people's hurt feelings, then, I mean, we could dispense with it, and it will have a chilling effect, and that is entirely appropriate for a board self-evaluation. Who does an evaluation and doesn't talk about the hard issues? But fine, if this board chooses not to, or again, have the Attorney General talk to us about this and investigate it, then we can decide, or maybe it'll be decided for us, but it will have a chilling effect on participation. And again, to Sue's point, I don't even see how we can go forward in January. That's going to be a hot mess.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
So when we vote right now, we're voting on whether to listen to it, or me or any other board member. The board designating a board member to monitor, that's separate, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are just voting to allow the closed session recordings to be heard by all board members.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Holt,
Yes.
Ms. Kerr,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Costello,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill Ellen,
Absolutely, yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, do we want to talk about